Disney is so interesting with the way they sort of manage their properties, because when you think about it, every single Disney movie that comes out, as long as it's like mildly successful, Disney will then basically do everything it can to squeeze as many pennies out of that franchise as possible. Example, like Aladdin, the movie Aladdin from the 90s, the Disney movie. You know, great movie, universally loved. They then did like some TV sequels, like so some movie sequels, Aladdin 2, like Return of Jafar, The King of Thieves and whatever. Then they had an Aladdin's Arabian Nights TV series, right? They just try to do everything with them. Similar, like The Lion King 2, then they did The Lion King 3 with Timon and Pumbaa. They then had like a TV series Lion King called The Lion Guard, the live action Lion King. Like they're always looking for ways to make money. Often they just do they used to be direct to DVD sequels. That's what they used to call them. Like they never got theatrical cinema releases. They were just cheaply made, put on DVDs. Hey, it's The Lion King 2, Simba's Pride. Go and watch this, kids. The Emperor's New Groove, they did a DVD sequel called Kronk's New Groove, and they did a TV series called The Emperor's New School. You know, getting kids to see those characters more. They do it a lot, like it, and maybe not as much these days, but even like I don't know what's another one. The Little Mermaid, they had a sequel. Tarzan, there was that Tarzan cartoon that used to play on Saturday Disney back when I was a kid here in Australia. Lilo and Stitch, no different. And I gotta say, Lilo and Stitch as a Disney movie, go and watch it. Because you probably haven't watched it since you were a kid, and I watched it during lockdown a few years ago. It is like genuinely one of the like best movies ever. It's got such an emotional core and emotional focus. It's genuinely like a really heartwarming movie about like family and like being an outsider, what makes someone family, etc., etc. It's just a really fun movie, and I think it's like, I mean, I think it's pretty popular, but I do think it's underrated. It's never held in the same regard as like the golden age 90s Disney movies like Lion King, Aladdin, Little Mermaid, Tarzan, all of that, right? It's sort of part of that, you know, dark age of Disney movies, but it's incredible. Radio JJ, my listener, wrote in and said there was a bunch of other stuff. So, and Lilo and Stitch was really funny because they obviously had Lilo and Stitch, the movie. Then the next thing that came out was like a direct-to-DVD movie just called Stitch the Movie. And that was like, they call it a backdoor pilot into the TV series, the cartoon. So that was like if you've seen it, it's the one I think where Lilo and Stitch go and rescue the electric experiment. And they introduce the idea of there's other experiments, you know, that they're little pods and they can be activated by water, right? That's that. And that was a backdoor pilot into a series, which is when they basically do a movie or they basically just do a pilot for a TV series as part of something else, in this case a movie, and then they like start the series from there. So it was essentially like, yeah, the premiere of the show, and then they did the show. Then they did a direct-to-DVD sequel to Lilo and Stitch, and it was called Lilo and Stitch 2, Stitch Has a Glitch. So this is what I mean when I say like I'm just obsessed with pop culture and my brain just like functions this way. Like I just remember it all. And I remember at the time, they would market this movie. There were ads for it on TV all the time. Lilo and Stitch 2, Stitch Has a Glitch. You know, if someone could dig out that commercial, I remember it so well, all the time on kids' TV. And basically, I was really confused because I was like, didn't they already do like a Lilo and Stitch 2 with that Stitch movie? So it was like confusing for me as a kid. And that was like separate to the continuity of the TV show. It was like not set at the same time or whatever. And then when the TV show ended, they then did another movie that was essentially like the series finale of that show. And it was called Leroy and Stitch. There is another Lilo and Stitch movie called Leroy and Stitch. And that movie was, it was the series finale of the Lilo and Stitch TV show, and I'm pretty sure, like, I've definitely seen it. The premise is that there's another Stitch after 626, because Stitch is 626. There's another Stitch, like a better because, okay, let's get deep into Lilo and Stitch lore here, okay? If you haven't seen the movie, these evil scientists are creating all these experiments to, like, give world domination or to do different things. And then Stitch was experiment 626, and he was like he was supposed to, like, be this super weapon essentially, but he was too nice. And I'm pretty sure 625 maybe was in the TV show, and he was like a yellow version of Stitch, but he only made sandwiches. Like, it was like a glitch essentially. And then, so in Leroy and Stitch, they make, maybe it's 627 or 628, they make that, and he's called Leroy, and he's like a red version of Stitch, except he's, like, actually hell-bent on world domination. And in that movie, they show all of the 626 experiments, and they, like, all get their time to shine. So the answer to basically, the short answer to your question, JJ, is yes. I am familiar with the Lilo and Stitch extended universe. And funnily enough, I think they just revealed that they're doing a live-action Lilo and Stitch. You know, in this trend of doing live-action versions of every Disney movie, they're doing a live Lilo and Stitch. Would love to see what Stitch looks like in live-action. And apparently they're getting the same voice actor to voice him, which makes sense, because it's like Stitch's voice is iconic. And I will never hear the word Ohana and, like, a tear not start to form in my eye, because I'm like, oh, Ohana means family. Family means no one gets left behind or forgotten. Love a bit of Stitch.